Hi there, this is Mr. Cardoso, and in this video we are going to explore the get command to gather information from the user, together with the put command and variables to create a simple program. So this is the video, Turing tutorial video number 3. I should probably put that at the top. So hopefully you have watched videos numbers 1 and 2 so that you will be able to follow along with this video. Okay, so we're going to start by creating a variable. So we're going to make a simple program here that's going to ask the user to input their name. So once we get their name, we will just write a simple message to them with their name in the message. So programs are very boring to people if they don't involve the people themselves, if they're not interactive. It's all about interactivity. So the more input we have in a program, the more the user feels part of the program, the more useful the program can be for our user. So that's why input is a very, very important concept when it comes to programming. So that's our next concept here. So I'm going to ask the user for their name, and since I'm going to ask them for their name, I'm going to need a place to store that name. So I'm going to create a variable called username. And I'm going to make that of type string. Oops, I spelled it wrong. So notice when you spell some of the keywords wrong, it doesn't turn bold. So that's a big sign to you. Okay. So username string. Now, instead of putting something or assigning a variable into username as we did in the last program like this, whose name haven't I used yet? For example, instead of doing that, that program will only work for the one user, Narosa. So instead of doing that, let's instead ask the user to enter their name. So first we have to communicate that to the user in order to tell them what to do. So we're going to say put, please enter your name. And if we run that right now, it's going to say, please enter your name, and then you can see up here it says finished. The program is done. There's no way for me to enter my name, so the user is kind of stuck. So that's not enough to in order for the user to be able to enter their name. So we need the new command called get. Okay, and so we say get. As soon as the get is read, this instruction is read, it allows the user. It allows a pause and allows the user to type something in, but we need to also indicate to the computer where are we going to store whatever they are going to type in. So we are going to store that in the box or variable called username. You can also think of it like a placeholder. So whatever the user types in, if they type in Chris, John, Mary, whatever they type in, it's going to go into this variable name, into this variable space. Okay, and then we can use it later on to write a message to them. So we'll see in a little bit. So now if I type run, it says please enter your name, and now notice the big blinking cursor. That's because of the get line. So it's saying get username. So I can type in here Aaron. Okay. And now when I hit enter as the user, it says finished. There's nothing else to be done because there's no more instructions. So if we want to complete our program, we can actually do something with this and send a message to our user and say, hello. Now we want to go between text that we are writing within quotations and a variable. So we can say hello space comma. And that's usually what you're doing. When you're going from text into a variable, hello space and quotations, comma, when you put the variable name. Like I said in the last video, if you put this inside the quotations, then it will just say hello username instead of the actual name of the user. Okay, so we can run that, and now we can say Mahatma. Hello Mahatma. There you go. Okay, if we wanted to write something after the username. So let's say, for example, a period. We can do the same thing, put a comma, then a quotation, and then a period. Okay, so now this will run there. And we can say this is Jonathan. Now we have the period at the end. Okay, what about getting some more information? So the reason why we made this a string is because we were storing string type data. So let's say, for example, we wanted to ask for the user's age. So I'm going to say var user age, and that should be an int because there's no decimals in the user age, or they could be, but we don't need to store it in this case. We can say put please enter your name, and then do another one, put please enter your age. And of course, if I want to get that from the user, I'm going to get a second input, and I'm going to say get user age. Okay. And down here I can say, just as a joke, maybe we can say you are user age years old. That's old. Okay, so just as a joke to the user, let's see how that runs. So it's going to say, please enter your name as it did before, and here we can put Priyanka, and it says please enter your age. You can say 16. Hello Priyanka, you are 16 years old. That's old. Okay, so now notice there is no space here. We would like to have a space here. So let's go back in here, and then we said, oh look, over there, if we add a space, that's a bit better. Now I'm just going to put in any input. Okay, and now you can see the space has been fixed. Okay, so we've got an actual input processing and output program going. So you can see you can play around with this and experiment. Just to show you one thing. So it says, please enter your name. So let's enter another name. Let's say we enter, I'm running out of names here. Say we enter Kimberly. Okay. And it says, please enter your age. Now, it's expecting, because age is, here we wrote username, right over here. So it's expecting an integer. So now what happens if we don't put an integer? Or the user doesn't put an integer? Then the program crashes and it says invalid integer input. So that's nothing wrong with what you did as a programmer. That's fine. There really is, in Turing, no way to get around that. In other programming languages, there are ways to get around this problem, but in Turing, there isn't. So don't worry about that. Just make sure you're clear to the user in your message here, please enter your age, that you're expecting an integer input. And that's all, as much as you can do to avoid this error in Turing. By the way, this was a runtime error, so it happened at runtime. It's not a syntax error, which would be something that you did wrong. Which is an error, like if I forgot the quotations here, that would be a syntax error. Okay, so this is a syntax error, this compilation error, and it sort of tells you down here where your error is, so that's a syntax error. Whereas, the runtime error, which is when it's expecting an integer input, for example, and we put letters. Okay, that would be a runtime error. There are other kinds of runtime errors, not just putting the wrong type of input, but we'll see those in good time. Okay, so that's pretty much how you use the get command to gather input from the user. Later on in the next video, we'll see how we can do more things with the input, like do some calculations with it and give the user a useful answer. So I want you to go ahead and try this program and try and experiment with the get command and the put command at this time. So just experiment with it, allow the user to input various different types of data, store them in variables, write some messages, and experiment and have some fun with that.